All right, think about this for a second. Imagine one guy, so powerful, so absolutely ruthless, he could literally erase history, forge a continent, and build wonders that we still marvel at today, and at the same time be completely, utterly terrified of dying. Well, today, we're diving deep into the story of that man. China's very first emperor, Qin Shi Huang.
I mean, this guy is one of the most important figures in all of human history. But here's the thing, nobody can agree on who he was. Was he a visionary founder who basically invented the idea of China? Or was he a paranoid, brutal tyrant who built his empire on, well, a mountain of corpses? The crazy part? He was both. Okay, so to really get a handle on this guy, we're going to walk through his incredible story. We'll start with him as a young prince, see how he built a unified China, then look at the sheer tyranny that came with it. After that, we'll get into his wild quest for eternal life, and finally, try to make sense of his legacy.
All right, let's get into it. Our story kicks off not with some all-powerful emperor, but with a kid, really, a prince named Ying. In 246 BC, he gets the throne of the Qin state. He's just 13 years old, and the world he's just inherited, it's chaos. Just constant, brutal war. So his early years, they were basically a masterclass in how to survive court intrigue. First, you've got these powerful figures like his regent, Liu Bui, that he has to outsmart. Then, and you can't make this up, he has to put down a coup attempt from a courtier who was secretly his mother's lover. Wild. And even after he finally gets total control, he's constantly dodging assassins, including the famous Jing Ke, who tried to take him out with a dagger hidden in a map. It's just non-stop drama.
And once that power was locked in, he just unleashed his armies. Just look at this timeline, it's insane. In less than a decade, just 10 years, he systematically rolls over all 6 of his rival states. He brings this 250-year-long nightmare called the Warring States period to a bloody, decisive end. And just like that, for the first time ever, China is united.
So you've just conquered the entire world as you know it. What's next? Well, for him, the title king just didn't cut it anymore. It was too small. So he invents a brand new title for himself, Shi Huang Di. It basically mashes together words from mythical gods and ancient rulers to mean first emperor. He was telling everyone, I'm not just a ruler, I'm the godlike founder of a whole new age.
His first order of business, make this massive new empire actually act like one. And he starts with something everyone understands, money. He gets rid of all the different messy currencies from the old states and says, nope, from now on, everyone uses this one coin, the Banliang coin. And bam, just like that, trade across the empire is speaking the same language.
Okay, next up, he tackles a huge problem, communication. See, everyone in his empire spoke different dialects, so they couldn't understand each other. But the emperor's move was genius. He ordered that everyone would write using the same standardized Qin script. Think about what that means. An order written in the capital can now be perfectly understood hundreds of miles away. It's a total game changer for control.
Then he goes for the jugular, the old power structure itself. He just completely blows up the feudal system, where power is passed down through families. Instead, he carves the empire into 36 commanderies and puts his own guys in charge. And these aren't nobles, they're officials picked for their merit, not their last name. Suddenly, all power, all loyalty flows directly back to one person, him.
And this obsession with standardization, it went into everything. Weights, measures, they all had to be the same. He even standardized the width of wagon axles. Why? So that every single cart would fit perfectly into the ruts on his brand new national highway system. What he was building wasn't just an empire, it was literally the blueprint for the centralized Chinese state, a blueprint that, amazingly, would last for 2 millennia. But, and this is a huge but, all of this incredible unity came at a terrifying price. This new, orderly world was built on a foundation of just absolute, soul-crushing brutality. A price was definitely paid, and it was paid in blood and in freedom. You see, the emperor's need for total control spiraled into one of the most infamous moments in Chinese history. To crush any and all dissenting thought, the stories say he had 460 scholars rounded up and buried alive. And this wasn't just a one-off. It was part of a massive campaign to control thought itself. He ordered a massive book burning, destroying countless historical records and philosophical works. He wanted to erase any version of the past that wasn't his version. That whole era of vibrant debate, the 100 schools of thought, was snuffed out. In its place, one single harsh philosophy, legalism. And its main idea was simple: the state is everything and you will obey.
So you have this incredible contradiction. The very same ambition that unified a nation also inflicted just unimaginable suffering. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people forced into labor, connecting all these old walls into one massive barrier, basically the first draft of the Great Wall. The death toll from these projects was just astronomical. Things got so bad that his own son, the heir to the throne, Fusu, actually called him out on it, begging him to stop being so cruel.
So, as he gets older, this man who conquered literally everything and everyone starts to fixate on the one enemy he can't beat with an army: death. His last year has become this paranoid, all-consuming search for immortality.
And this quest made him deeply paranoid. He's sending massive fleets out to sea to find mythical islands where immortals are supposed to live. He's got alchemists working around the clock to create an elixir of life. And the great irony is that these potions were probably filled with poisonous mercury. He got so scared that he built a whole system of secret tunnels between his 200 palaces just so he could move around without evil spirits seeing him.
And this is where you see the ultimate paradox of the man. While he's desperately trying to cheat death, he's also planning the most elaborate afterlife you can possibly imagine. To build his tomb complex, he forces more than 700,000 people to work on it. I mean, that's a bigger workforce than any city that existed on the entire planet at the time.
And what was he building? Well, among other things, an army to guard him in the next life. Over 8,000 life-size terracotta soldiers buried underground. And the detail is just mind-blowing. Every single soldier has a unique face, different armor, different weapons. It's his real army, perfectly replicated in clay, ready to protect him for eternity. But the main tomb, the emperor's final resting place, it's never been opened. Ancient historians wrote about what's inside, and it sounds like something out of a fantasy novel. They talk about a huge underground palace with a map of his empire laid out on the floor, with rivers and oceans made of liquid mercury. They say the ceiling is covered in pearls to look like the stars, and the whole place is booby-trapped with crossbows. And the craziest part, modern scientists have tested the soil around the tomb, and they've found incredibly high levels of mercury. Those old stories, they just might be true.
So, in 210 BC, while on a tour of his empire, the first emperor finally dies. He's only 49 years old. And the final tragic irony of his life? He was almost certainly killed by those so-called immortality elixirs he was drinking, poisoned by the mercury that he thought would let him live forever.
What happens next is just pure political scheming. His top advisors are terrified that the empire will collapse, so they cover up his death. For 2 whole months, they travel around with his body, pretending he's still alive. They're bringing meals to his carriage, issuing fake orders from him. They even had carts of rotting fish travel with them to cover up the smell. And this was all a brilliant, if gruesome, plot so they could forge his will, get his real heir to kill himself, and put a weak puppet emperor on the throne instead.
So, for centuries, pretty much everyone agreed. This guy was the ultimate bad guy, a cruel, paranoid tyrant. But, in more modern times, people have started to look at it differently. Yes, he was a monster, but was he also a visionary who laid the groundwork for modern China? Were his horrible methods necessary? That's the debate, and it's still going on today.
And his legacy is so potent, so powerful, that even in the 20th century, you have Mao Zedong, the leader of Communist China, actually comparing himself to the emperor. When his critics called him a tyrant, just like Qin Shi Huang, Mao apparently shot back. He buried 460 scholars. We buried 46,000. We've got him beat 100 times over. It just goes to show you how this figure from over 2,000 years ago is still a huge part of the national conversation.
Ultimately, the story of the first emperor pushes a really tough question right in our faces. He created a nation, a civilization, but he did it with pure terror and oppression. And so it leaves you thinking, what's the real price of progress? And can creating something great ever justify the awful things you did to build it?